For as long as I can remember, I've always loved pixelated graphics and pixel art. I don't know if it's just because I grew up in the era of 16 and 32-bit consoles, or if this timeless graphical look is just something that stands out and holds up well in the never-ending sea of games we've gotten over the years since then. One of the best consoles to house these classic games was the GBA. This console still holds up so well and has definitely withstood the test of time. Now, with many amazing emulators and retro handhelds springing up all over the place, there's never been a better time to explore the library of games that the GBA has to offer. With its large catalog of games spanning every genre you can think of, it can be hard to pick something with all the options available. We will only ever be picking games that are still enjoyable to play today. Games that if released today would still be a good time, even without the nostalgia. Let's jump into 10 amazing GBA hidden gems that still hold up and are fun to play. Based on the popular 2000s film Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, this GBA game was developed by Ubisoft and published by THQ. An action-adventure game that is as fun to play as the name is to say, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That just sounds cool. The game is your standard side-scrolling fare with some flashy Chinese martial arts to keep things fresh. It's very fast-paced with a lot of aerial attacks, flips, and special moves. The levels are linear, but the environments look amazing, and each stage puts you in a new one of these well-crafted areas. The main draw of the game is its flashy fast combat, but the music should still be mentioned as it often does a good job of adding to the atmosphere of the game. At the later stages, the game can start to feel repetitive, but for the time it takes to beat, I feel this game is definitely worth a playthrough. Do you like Castlevania? Do you like beautiful pixel art with great sound and visuals to match? If you're like me, then you missed those classic 2D Metroidvanias with the side-scrolling RPG action. Well, Shaman King 2 has got you covered. It uses a similar combat style to the GBA Castlevania games, but you travel around a large map, selecting locations as you go. Spirits can be captured and used to equip different attacks and abilities. If you remember Aria of Sorrow, this game will feel very similar. There is something to be said about the environments and variety of spirits to collect. While not as polished as the games it sets out to be like, this game is still a must-play for any Castlevania fan or anybody looking for that style of gameplay. I believe it was actually built on the same engine as Castlevania Aria of Sorrow as well, and that's easy to tell when you're playing through it. This game is a great game to play through if you missed those classic Castlevania games. When talking about SRPGs of the GBA era, the conversation is often dominated by games like Final Fantasy Tactics Advance or the amazing Tactics Ogre and the Knights of Lotus, but rarely do I hear mention this classic game. A spin-off of the 3D action games Onimusha, it shares the same name but not the same gameplay. This is a samurai fantasy game played out on a grid-based system similar to the FF Tactics titles. You equip different weapons and armor and gain new abilities as you level up. It has a combat system with lots of customization. The graphics are super solid and look amazing still to this day. The gameplay can provide a fair challenge, and the stages stay interesting throughout the entire game. If you've already played through the more popular games in this genre, then Onimusha Tactics should definitely be next on your list. Rainbow Six Rogue Spear for the GBA is a tactical shooter played from a top-down perspective. You take on the role of a squad of elite military dudes tasked with counter-terrorism missions across the globe. Stealth and strategy are the main components of this game. You control multiple team members at once, each with their own unique loadout and skill set. Hostage rescues, bomb defusals, and takedown missions will see you controlling your characters similar to the old SOCOM games, but in a more simple fashion. The controls can be a bit tough, so I wouldn't recommend playing this one on your phone or anything without buttons, but once you get a grip of its various systems, this game becomes an absolute joy to play through. This game is as good as anything else with the Tom Clancy name attached to it, and I definitely recommend playing through it. When you hear the name Turok, the last thing that comes to most people's minds is a side-scrolling run-and-gun shooter similar to the likes of Contra. But that's exactly what Turok Evolution for the GBA was. Unlike its first-person counterpart, this game will have you platforming through well-crafted 2D areas while running and gunning with any of its large variety of weapons. This game is fast-paced and difficult, but addictive. While it took me many tries to even beat the first level, I was enjoying myself the entire time. The dinos and mutated creatures look awesome, and anybody who's a fan of the Contra games will definitely be able to appreciate what the devs built here. Satisfying to play the entire way through. For a frustratingly fun time, you should check out Turok Evolution. Ghost Rider is not a popular name to bring up usually in any present-day convo referencing the character. However, the Ghost Rider game on the GBA is a true hidden gem. A 2D action game with a beat-em-up element and some fun level designs. The attacks feel punchy and weighty, and the chains are a ton of fun to play with. There are some levels where you get to control Ghost Rider on his flaming motorcycle, while avoiding obstacles and smacking enemies with your whip, and I found these to be a fun break in between all the regular side-scrolling action. With some fun unique boss fights thrown in as well, Ghost Rider for the GBA is a classic superhero game that shouldn't be missed if you're a fan of fun action games or the superhero genre in general. Sticking with the Marvel theme, we have another superhero action game that I never see mentioned, Fantastic Four Flame On. In this one, you control Johnny Storm and uses fire-based powers to defeat enemies and solve small puzzles. You would think playing as only one of the Fantastic Four wouldn't be very fantastic, but his smooth controls and focused gameplay make it a standout in the genre. It brings you across some cool familiar locations like the streets of New York or inside Doctor Doom's lair. Johnny Storm is a lot of fun to control thanks to tight responsive controls, and the game is fairly short, meaning you would have long beaten the game before the mechanics start to feel stale. Fantastic Four Flame On is a great title and a great hidden GBA gem. By these days, it seems most people have had a playthrough of the classic Doom game, as it's available to play on literally anything. But I don't remember the last time someone brought up Duke Nukem. Known for its over-the-top style and gore, Duke Nukem on GBA feels amazing, and it plays and looks just like it should with all those amazing pixels. This is your standard boomer shooter gameplay. Maze-like levels with big guns and interesting enemy designs, the simplicity of the gameplay loop mixed with the classic crunchy graphics and controls makes this game feel exactly like what you'd hope, in all the best ways. Simple, fun, and doesn't overstay its welcome. This one is great for a quick gameplay session on the go. Duke Nukem Advance is as good as the classic Doom, and you should definitely give it a try. Not an easy game whatsoever, but totally worth it if you stick with it. Gaikido Kintaro's Revenge is a 2D beat-em-up with some light platforming thrown in. You use a variety of combos and special moves available to you to beat up enemies and move on to the next screen. There is a variety of weapons you can pick up to use scattered throughout all of the game's various areas, from forests to caves to dungeons. This game has a good variety of environments, and moving through them often feels like playing a fighting game with added movements and expanded levels more than it does your standard beat-em-up game. As mentioned before, the game can be a real challenge, but with the variety of combat options and snappy controls, the game is worth beating. Probably the most well-known game on this list, but still a hidden gem, is Sabrewulf. Sabrewulf is an isometric 2D action puzzle game with some unique gameplay elements and a super fun visual design to match. Solve puzzles, battle enemies, explore the environment. All the standard gameplay elements are there, but with its unique use of tools and objects to solve these puzzles, and vast amounts of traps and hazards scattered throughout the levels you explore, or the combat that keeps things interesting, this game feels unique and unlike any I've played through before. I would not recommend this game to anybody who isn't a fan of puzzle mechanics, but to anybody who likes that type of gameplay, then Sabrewulf is one you have to at least try for yourself. Not to mention, the entire game is just incredibly charming. Between its characters and art, it's hard not to like this game. That wraps up my list for the 10 lesser known hidden gems on the GBA. All of the games mentioned here are still worth a playthrough today. No nostalgia needed. Appreciate you being here. I plan to do a lot more retro content mixed into my regular videos. We're going to try and keep a nice balance of modern and retro moving forward. Thanks again for watching. I love you all. See you next time. I'm out.